point I was making, ladies and gentlemen, with the book of Job was this: that Job, being an upright, blameless man, as far as men are concerned, and as God had pointed out to Satan, is there anyone like Job? He's righteous in all he does. But at the end of the book, I had pointed out that Job was not completely righteous, and Job had no right to say anything before God. Even Job said, "Just give me an audience with you, to argue with you over my punishment here." What happened to Job? Let's see. God spoke with Satan as he was in his court, and just like what happened in the garden with Adam and Eve, right? How Satan had manipulated Eve by saying, has God really said that there isn't any fruit in the garden? Making Eve think of the one fruit she can't have. But Satan thinks he's so slick. But God is like, the Lord is like, Satan, so you've been looking for men to test. It's like Satan has a job in the courtroom of God. And the Lord says to Satan, have you considered my servant Job? Have you looked at Job? He's a good man. God was poking at Satan to test Job. God initiated it. God's the one that singled Job out and said, have you considered my servant Job? Thou hast put a hedge around him. You have blessed everything of his hands, but take away what he has, and he will surely curse you to your face, Satan goes. And the Lord goes, okay, you may take away from him everything, except you must not harm him. So God put a limit to what Satan could do. But God initiated the murder of Job's children. The taking away of all of his flocks and all of his possessions, and left him with just his wife to say, curse God and die to him. The only one left was the one that was a real pain. Took everything away but his wife. And you say, God is a cruel God. He has no right. And God is a murderer. And God is this. And I'm looking at you and I'm going, God is righteous in all he does. You know what Job said? God giveth and God taketh away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And he would not curse God to his face. But look at you Arminians. When you're told what God does, and you judge God thinking that you're righteous enough to stand before God, like Job, you need to put your hand over your mouth. God has the right to do what he wants to do with his creation. And if you say, well, that's not fair, God made us do it. In your heart, you have the free will given to you by God, but a free will given to you by God to do what you want to do. Now, God directs us every step, but I don't feel him pushing me. I wanted to do what I wanted to do. I wanted to pick this pen up. So I had enough free will to pick it up. And if I had enough free will to pick it up, then I should be able to write with it. And if I've done something wrong with my free will, then I'm accountable for it. So who are you, O man? And by the way, the name for man is Adam. It means mud. Who are you, O mud? To talk back to God. Shall the thing formed say to the thing that made it? Shall the potter say to the clay, why did you make me like this? Or shall you just do what you're given to do? If you choose to follow Christ, if you choose, then you choose. Now, when Jesus said, you didn't choose me, but I chose you, the fact is that Jesus knew that he did that we did choose him, but it was that it was him who worked in us both the will and to do. He worked in our hearts. He took out the heart of flesh. He took out the heart of stone and put in a heart of flesh, and made our will want to choose him. So nobody who wants to come to God is hindered. So now you look at Job, how he wouldn't speak back to God, but you Arminians speak back to him all day, saying that God doesn't have a right to judge people. He destroyed the earth. He destroyed the earth. You read the Old Testament, ladies and gentlemen. He destroyed cities like Nineveh. People were raped. People were murdered. And when Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed, Abraham had bargained with God. Well, will you destroy the city if there are so many righteous men, 70, 100, 10, 12? There was not one righteous man in the city. For God said, I would not strike the city down for 10 or less. God knew there was no righteous men there, except for ones who believed in the blood that were there, maybe Lot. But I don't know what was going on with Lot. I do know that for Abraham's sake, Lot was saved. So when you sit here and hate me because I believe in predestination, and I believe that God is sovereign, and that's me, I believe that. You're going to hate me for what I believe, not because I have anything hateful in me, but this is what I see is in the scriptures, and this is what baffles me. That I'm not hated because I'm a terrible person. I'm hated because of what I see written in the scriptures and how I see that judgment is upon all people. And yet I was hated for it. And I see all the hatred that's going on in the Arminian community. And I'm thinking to myself, how could they not hate? They don't. If they're the ones that are like Job that speak back to God, how could they not be the ones that speak back to God themselves? You ought to put your hand over your mouth. You don't speak back to God. Job wouldn't speak back to God after he was stricken down. So when you see what happens in the world, which by the way, everyone is judged, look at Noah's Ark, right? And you blame God for it, that's exactly what an Arminian is doing. Blaming God for judgment. Thank you.